I had a question about source energy. I understand intellectually that we are extensions of source energy, and that source energy understands us and knows us and all that. And what you've said in other seminars and tapes about source energy loving us and adoring us, I guess. And I mean, I can look in the mirror and say I love myself. I don't have any problem with that, I guess. But there's something about that is a trigger for me, or something that I don't know if I can feel it. I just don't know I can feel it, or I'm just don't know how to feel it. I guess the loving and adoring part from source energy.
Well, the way we would test this in our own experience is we would think a hateful thought about someone, and then we would think a loving thought about someone, and play both of them out for 2 or 3 minutes. And we would notice the empty feeling in the hateful thought and the alignment feeling in the loving thought. And then we would criticize ourselves, and then we would praise ourselves. And then we would look for negative aspects in something, and then we would look for positive aspects in something. The other night, Jerry and Esther went to one of their favorite restaurants in the area. And every year they come, and every year they stay a few days, and every year they eat every meal there that they can, every evening meal. And there is one room that they especially love, and there is another room that they just soon not be in. And when the owner of the restaurant is there, he always puts them in their favorite room, but when he's not there, they might end up in another room. And while they could ask for it, they want the universe to find their table for them. So the other night, they were placed in the room that they don't like so well. And when Esther first sat there, Jerry looked at her because he knew she was disappointed. And she looked at him because she knew he was disappointed. And then they both set out to make the best of it, but neither one of them were really getting there quite yet. They were looking longingly into the other room. And then the owner of the restaurant came in and discovered them there, and he said, "Oh my, what are you doing here?" And Esther said, "This too is a beautiful room." And she meant it. It has murals on the wall. It's just a different sort of attitude, but it also is a beautiful room. And this man beamed, because Esther realized she does not want him to see one room as inferior and one room as superior, because that makes him controverted with everyone he seats in this other room. In other words, her inner being started dominating her vibration as she began looking for things about this room. And then he beamed and walked away, and then Jerry and Esther are sitting at the table. And Jerry is looking at the murals on the wall, and Jerry begins to speculate. I wonder, it is all of Italy, but he wonders where in Italy these scenes are from. And the owner of the restaurant comes back by their table again, and Jerry says to him, "What are these scenes?" And the man stood and began describing the cities from which these murals had been chosen. And as Esther watched him, he came into alignment with Source. The man began to glow. His eyes filled with sort of soft, happy tears as he described this land he loved so much and why he chose those murals. And as Esther relaxed into the energy of this now even more beautiful room, she felt that this conversation had not only transformed that room for her forevermore, but for the owner of the restaurant as well. You see what we're getting at? What we're talking about is discovering that you have the capacity to be happy wherever you are, if happiness is what you care about. When you care about how you feel, and you're determined to find it where you are, and you got to be determined to find it where you are, because where you are is where you are. And we know that this seems silly to talk about one room in a 5-star restaurant as compared to another room in a 5-star restaurant. In other words, it's not hard to feel good in any case. But we want you to understand that the choices that you make are your choices no matter where you are. And it's possible to be a person living in the best of environments feeling awful, and it's possible to be a person living in the worst of environments feeling wonderful. But the way you feel is your choice. And the more you choose feeling good, the more you care about how you feel, the more alignment is what you are focused upon, then the more of the thing, what feel like peripheral or external things in your life begin to take shape and perform for you in the most pleasing of ways. Source energy. It's not easy to find words that help physical friends get their thoughts around what's non-physical when they're focused in a physical realm where they're translating everything in physical terms. We want you to understand that you were a being before you became this being, and that even while you are this being, that you are that being as well, and that the being that you are being in this physical body is causing you to become even more, that larger part of you is becoming, and that's what we want to call source. We want you to understand that you are the physical embodiment of source energy, and that when you feel for the only way that you can distinguish, when you feel for it, you can't see it, you can't hear it, you can't smell it, you can't touch it, you can't know it in its pure essence other than through your emotions. But when you tune yourselves to the emotions of source, you will discover firsthand what source is. And what source is the vibration that feels like love to you. That's as close as you're ever going to be able to define it, you see. So when you just keep reaching for the better feeling, better feeling, better feeling, better feeling, and you begin to come into alignment with who you are more and more and more consistently, so that you're living it as you often are, then what you begin to notice is that when you are it, there's not the need to try to define it or describe it, because the being of it is the ultimate of it. And that's what Esther noticed. She went from a whining, complaining in her mind person about this table that they had given her that she felt like she did not want, to turning her thoughts to the beauty of something, and with nothing really changing in her environment, she turned from upstream to downstream. She turned from disconnected to connected. She turned from being a physical body apart from who she really is to being a physical body in combination with who she really is, and she felt the full essence of source energy begin to flow through all of them there. It was a moment of ecstasy, a moment that she will always, 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 always remember. In fact, that table may forevermore be her favorite table in any restaurant anywhere, because it was a table where she felt alignment happen when it didn't have to. Alignment happen when it didn't have to. You see what we're getting at? Source is only worth talking about when you are fully filled with it. And you can only be fully filled with it when you stop doing that thing you do that is the only thing that keeps you from being fully filled with it. You know source by being it. You cannot describe it in its separation from you.